Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to RYA Live Club Show. I'm Shirley Robertson.
And I'm Lee Timothy. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Well, this session will be quick, I promise. 30 minutes taking a speedy look back at the last 12 months and focusing on some of the main issues currently facing clubs in the UK. Hopefully, it will also get you in the mood. A short teaser to the affiliated clubs conferences that's happening later this year. That's right, real life, ladies and gentlemen, face-to-face conferences kicking off this November. It's been an exciting time for all of us in the sport, with club membership numbers really rocketing and participation generally on the rise. Getting wet, it seems, has never been more popular. This provides us all with a huge opportunity, making sure that we're moving forward in the same direction, that we're adaptable. This is fundamental if we're to capitalise on this current surge in interest.
Later, we'll be exploring some of the hot topics and opportunities for clubs, but this is your show and we want to hear from you. So the chat function is available, and if you're watching on Facebook, you can also use the comments section. You can also get in touch by email, and we really want to know what club you're a member of so that we can find out who's with us this evening.
To get us all thinking about how we might evolve, let me introduce and welcome this evening's team of panellists. Sarah Sutcliffe, RYA CEO, and Sarah joined the team here at RYA House at the beginning of the year, and the sport is very lucky to have her. She brings with her a wealth of legal and management expertise from the world of business and from the world of sport. I also hear she's quite an enthusiastic boatie. Maybe we'll hear about that in a bit. Rob Clark, many of you I'm sure will know Rob. He's the Director of Sport Development at the RYA. He's passionate about getting more people on the water and on the water more often. Also joining us is Joe Lynch. Joe is an independent consultant supporting businesses, charities and membership organisations. But Joe also comes with pretty solid sailing credentials. He's an ex-instructor and a centre manager, and he now supports the RYA as part of the Participation and Membership Committee and has been key in developing the new volunteer engagement strategy. And we'll hear a bit more about that later.
We wanted to know, let us know what's happening at your club. What have you done this year to increase membership, and what successful programs have you been running? We also want to hear what has been the biggest challenges for your club. Get involved and ask us a question. Okay,
let's start with a few stats. Love some analytics. Club membership has risen 5.5% since 2016, not bad. But we've also seen a near threefold increase in the percentage of the population that went sailing in 2021 compared to 2020. Rob, these are pretty impressive numbers. A threefold increase in a year is up there by any stretch. I mean, is the landscape changing? Are we seeing that participation spike in our clubs?
Well, I think firstly, it's a really positive trend to see more and more people on the water. And I think anybody who's been around and about on our waterways over the last couple of years has seen new audiences discover it. What we are though seeing is that those new participants, they're still not yet quite embedded in the sport. So about 80% of participation is on a low frequency basis, once, maybe twice a year. I think that's where we really have an opportunity as a group of clubs and as a network to be able to encourage more opportunities, get more people on the water, and be really mindful of what the motivations are of these groups who are coming through.
Just quickly, I mean, is it here to stay, or is it just a bit of it's come from COVID?
Well, I think there's obviously that bounce that I think all outdoor activity had when the COVID restrictions were eased. However, it's an opportunity for us, I think, is the key thing. What we don't want to do is turn around in a few years' time and realise that whole cohort of people who tried sailing for the first time didn't stick with it. And certainly, realistically, we're not going to convert everybody, but there's certainly a real opportunity to convert as many as we can.
Sarah, new in the job this year. I mean, the RYA is both large and very, very diverse. From inland waterways to Olympic success, the range of responsibilities is probably quite daunting and also quite impressive. I mean, how would you summarise what you've found here, and what's been your highlights for 2022?
Thanks, Shirley. I mean, you're right. Hit the nail on the head. The complexity of the operations that the RYA has and the role it plays in the sector. I mean, it's been a steep learning curve, and I think it's genuinely, I'm going to learn something new every day in this job. You know, whether it's learning about training, understanding, you know, more about clubs and classes. You know, I sail with my husband, but I'm not down into the detail of everything the RYA does. You know, cruising, sustainability, lobbying. You mentioned the British sailing team. You know, we interact with public stakeholders in UK sport and Sport England and our colleagues in the home nations with their sports councils. So it is a very complex landscape, but hugely exciting, and I'm having a great time. And as for the highlight, to be honest, it's when I've been able to get out of the office. I've had the pleasure of visiting 7 or 8 different clubs so far, meeting the volunteers running those clubs, understanding about the programs they're delivering. And, you know, it's true to say no one club is the same as another club. I managed to get up to Wales, to Pwllheli, to see the Youth Nationals, and down to Weymouth and see the legacy from London 2012, the fantastic work going on at the WPNSA and the home of the British sailing team. So it's complex and exciting.
Well, we're very pleased you're up for the challenge and pleased that you've taken the wheel. Joe, you're working closely with clubs, helping them look to the future. That's your role. We talk of an unprecedented opportunity to grow the sport. How true is that? And for clubs, how easy has it been to harness the trend?
I think it's very true. There is this huge opportunity, as Rob said. We've all been cooped up for so long, and we've missed the fresh air. We've missed time outside with our friends and family. For me, this year, getting afloat again has been fantastic. But probably one of the most almost moving moments was being able to spend time at Brighton Marina Yacht Club, where I'm a member, taking complete novices who have never sailed before and giving them a yacht racing experience. And it just reminds you, first of all, how with the right mentality, clubs can harness this demand that will generate future sailors for years to come. But more importantly, you see the excitement, the thrill, the sense of privilege of people trying something new. People want new experiences. They want to learn in a quick, easy, informal and safe environment. And the potential for us to capitalize on that for this year and many years to come is, I think, huge.
It is exciting.
It's very exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lee, you're on the chat, and I can say, oh my goodness, we've got lots of comments. What's been the highlights of some of our viewers?
So some of the highlights, Shirley, clubs have been diversifying their offer, adding stand-up paddleboarding to their club offer, open water swimming, yoga in the clubhouse to grow their membership and draw in families. And we've also had comments about the success of Discover Sailing Days, and how that's helped clubs interact with their local community.
I'm going to come back to you in just a few moments. But first, let's take a quick look at how one club is embracing the changing demands, not just of their current membership, but also their future members. Lee has been to Cheshire to check out what's going on at RYA 2022 Club of the Year, Budwood Sailing Club.
So I'm now joined by Bill, who is the Commodore here at Budwood Sailing Club. Bill, thank you very much for welcoming us to the club.
Very welcome.
Can you tell us a little bit about the club, first of all?
So you're in the heart of Cheshire here. Budwood Sailing Club is a thriving, active club, and we are a group of nearly 550 members.
What makes up the main activity?
So we've retained our USB of fleet racing. We have 9 classes of boat here, 6 of them adult, 3 of them junior. But in addition, we've also got this new thing that we've increased, which is our recreational sailing, where we're bringing people in from outside the club, teaching them how to sail, and then taking them through the sailing journey, which is the heart of what we're achieving here.
And who leads that journey? Is the club run by staff or volunteers?
So we are an open members club for the members, run by the members, with hardly any paid staff whatsoever. And again, there's an immense amount of camaraderie as a consequence of that element to it.
So Bill, if you were to offer one piece of advice to a club that's looking to implement some immediate change, what would that be?
So I think that's more a case of looking hard at the individual groups that you have within your sailing club and trying to understand what their personal needs are, possibly putting them together in groups and then tailor making an activity or a session that is unique and specific for them. That could mean that you end up with many different activities going. It could mean that you can merge together various groups into one core activity, but it's all about the supply and demand. You've got that element of it, and you have to go and meet their expectations. If you push them down the wrong road, in this case if you went down the hardcore racing route too soon, you'll switch them off and you won't retain them.
Right, so it's all about tailoring to each population group's needs within the club.
Correct.
How do you manage to get that communication out to them?
So I think once upon a time it was letter, then it was telephone, then it was email. In this day and age of social media, we literally grasped hold of this WhatsApp thing. I think I'm actually on 47 different WhatsApp groups for my sins. And what it allows me to do is it lets me see all of the individual groups, and because they feel as part of a group when they're in their individual fleet or WhatsApp group. The better sailors and the recreational sailors, they feel a part of their group, and they socially interact within themselves. So when I want to disseminate pieces of information, I can go to just the junior section, or I can go to the hardcore sailors, or I can go to the fleet sailors, and I can focus my communications via the different WhatsApp groups.
So moving on to a bit of a technical question, Bill.
Yeah.
The club's one of many that started to use online management software.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what kind of difference that's made for the club?
Oh, huge, massive. Once upon a time, everything was on bits of paper, individual spreadsheets, databases that didn't talk to each other. So bringing on that and embracing technological developments has revolutionised what we do here. All of a sudden, we've now got a database of all of our members in one central place. It links into our website. It allows us so many different facilities. So you organise a function or a do, and you want to make it a bookable event, and everybody signs up to get themselves a ticket for an event of some description. We sell clothing through our chandlery section. All of that's done through the software. The results system that we have here that goes straight onto our website is also embracing that technological element of it, and we've also brought on board the cardless payment system for both the bar and for the galley services. So yes, embracing technology and all that it brings with it, and the benefits have been immense, particularly for me as Commodore, to be able to talk to all of the individual committee members. They're all using the same software and we're all talking on the same system. It also allows me to take Budwood inquiries, so you're from the outside of the club through the club website, you come into the system, I get to see the inquiry, and my life would be impossible if I tried to answer all of those. All I'm doing now is I'm disseminating back out junior training over here and adult training over there, membership inquiries.
Thank you very much to Budwood Sailing Club for having us this morning and giving us a little insight into club life. And a big thanks to Bill, because he's already sorted me out a boat to go racing this afternoon.
Every club needs a Bill, don't they? What incredible enthusiasm. It looked like you had a ball that day. What impressed you most about Budwood?
What impressed me most, Shirley, was the sheer variety of activity going on in that small amount of time that I was there. From youth training going on to pursuit races, standard club racing, and they had a follow-up session from their recent open day where they were trying to bring in new members to the club and really embed them as part of the club.
Maybe they'd all just come to see you.
Maybe.
Perhaps. There was a lot going on there, Sarah, wasn't there? I mean, what were the key points that you took away from Budworth's story?
I think there were two key things that I thought stood out. And one, I think, as Lee said, the variety of activities, but it was the fact that there were different activities for different people. I think it's understanding that people have different motivations and want a different personal experience. So it's not about trying to get everybody to do the same thing. And I think that's something that clubs can embrace and think about, well, how do we bring more people in? You know, I'm constantly hearing stories about clubs that are embracing open water swimming, and that's getting one parent down to the club, and then the other parent is doing something else in the club, and then that's bringing the kids down. So it's thinking wider. The second thing that I think jumped out at me was the use of modern communication platforms. He talked about moving from letters to emails, and now, frankly, onto WhatsApp. And I think, again, it's that creation of people with a common interest, a sort of a sub-community within a club, meaning that you can target communication to people who have a certain interest, and also then they have a way of being a community with other like-minded people. So that enhances their own personal experience.
Joe, they had specifically targeted recreational sailors. It's something I don't think we've necessarily done that well in clubs in our sport. I mean, what are your thoughts about that? And is that the way to keep people?
I think so. I was really impressed. I spent time researching their online presence, and I imagined, if I've never been there before, how easy is it to participate? And the club came through exactly as Bill's described it, really accessible, open, approachful. Looking at their online presence, there's no jargon. They make it really obvious that I'm welcome there, whether I've got a boat or not got a boat. They make it clear I can try a whole range of different activities, windsurfing, family activities, serious racing. They don't try and sell membership. They try and get you to come sailing, come and participate, join in, because they obviously know that membership sales will follow as a side effect. And I think that's the way to do it. But you can just see the tone of voice is that they've really looked after their members. They describe how to get there, where to stay if you're traveling, and they make it really accessible with fun things like their Bunk Off Wednesday evening series, or the weekend friendly series where the race instructions or the directions are rig your boat and then join us for breakfast. So you just know that you're going to have a warm welcome. They take the time and trouble to say which people in the club are working there, come and talk to us and we'll look after you. I thought it really was very impressive.
That's absolutely fantastic, Joe. And I think you've, even just from you not actually visiting the club, I think you've really captured the experience that club members get there. It is just so warm and welcoming.
Well, I think credit to the club, they've made that shine through, and it's obviously built on the way they work.
Absolutely. And Rob, as Director of Sport Development, you've got quite a broad view across all clubs in the country. What successful strategies have you seen different clubs adopt?
I mean, I think some of the real key things were illustrated there through the comments we just made, and also through seeing that video. The first thing is to really take the time to understand your members and your potential members, and understand what their motivations are. Why do they want to be on and around the water? And make sure that we provide a platform that supports them. Yeah? And it might not be, as Sarah mentioned, it might not be the traditional style of participation in the club. People might have different time availability. They might have different interests. The diversification of how people want to be on the water and on what is becoming more and more relevant. So I think that's a really key thing, and not assuming that your new members are the same as your old members that they've replaced. I think that's one of the real key things that come through. And then it's also about really signposting the amount of opportunity within the club. So just because someone happens to have joined a particular group is not to pigeonhole as that being their destination they remain in forever. And so to give them a chance of trying out the other activities that go on and make them feel just as welcome in every single one.
And for our viewers this evening, if I'm looking to get some advice running a local club, who would be the best point of contact to get some advice?
We've got a network of regional development officers. So every one of the regions has a development officer, both in the English regions and also in the home countries of Northern Ireland, Scotland and Wales. And we also have a regional volunteer team in each of our regions as well, who are there, who have hands-on, on-the-ground experience of how it's been to run their club successfully, and can share some of their lived experience of the things that have worked and the things that have been more challenging.
Joe, every club has its own DNA. I mean, DNA that's evolved often over generations, several generations. How do you find that balance between, keeping that feel of the club and yet, being welcoming and opening and moving forward?
It's a real challenge, and I think it's important to embrace and celebrate the heritage of some of our great clubs, but don't ever let that get in the way of you appealing to new participants. And I say participants, and the members will follow the participants. Have a look at yourself as if you've never been to your club before. How easy is it to get involved? How easy is it to find the information that you need? And just challenge everybody to remember that the next generation of members will be completely different in many different ways to the previous generation of members. Are you really listening to what they want to do? Are your participants, how are they changing? Are you providing the range of experiences for them in a way that they can easily access? Because what was good enough 30 years ago won't be good enough in 5 years' time.
That's a very good summary. All right. Well, on the one hand, as we've all said, right now there are lots of positives around water sports, but bigger picture, there's also a lot of uncertainty. Let's just take a few of the more pressing worries and have a look at them, and also some of the themes that have been emerging from the chat. Sarah, the cost of living crisis is going to not only increase the actual costs of running a club, but also, I'm sure, have a significant effect on what people and organisations can justify on spending on leisure. What can clubs do to manage their finances?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, Shirley. We can't hide away from it. It's the whole of society's, I think, being affected by the cost of living crisis at the moment, whether it's, as say, energy bills going up in clubs and at home, so people's discretionary spend going down. They may still be a member, but they may not be coming down to the club and eating and dining in the club, for example. So, yeah, there are knock-on effects everywhere. We have got a cost of living survey out in clubs and really encourage everybody to fill it in, because the more we know, the more we understand, the more we can tailor some advice. We've got lots of generic advice available. The Green Blue have recently launched their 30 ways to green your club. That advice is available on the website, the Green Blue website, and through our own. And I think the biggest message I have to everybody is, talk to us. Don't struggle in silence. Tell us, reach out to the RDOs, the regional development officers that Rob mentioned, and talk to us about specific concerns you have, because we may be able to give you tailored, specific advice to help. It's challenging. There's no magic wand, but we'll try and help everybody through it as best as we can.
Do you think clubs are going to have to become innovative and trying to raise funds?
I suspect so, yes. I mean, fundraising activities is always a good way to go about trying to bolster your activities. And again, thinking about diversifying, thinking about how can we bring new and different people into the club. If you've got an empty club room, think about a local yoga group or a mums and toddlers group. Think about using your facilities in different ways and bringing extra income in. But as I say, that the key message is, please just speak to us. We're here to help.
Joe, we're also getting questions in the chat about volunteers. Now, volunteers are the absolute heartbeat of a club, but it's getting harder and harder to get volunteers to contribute to the club. Sailing relies on volunteers. How much of a real issue is this?
I think it's a very real issue, but it's one that can be overcome. Volunteering, if you have to imagine volunteering, it's very competitive. Think of volunteers as you might think about customers. They've got a huge number of options available to give their time, their energy, their passion. So why would they give it to your particular club? And you have to remember that volunteers, a bit like customers, are doing it for a reason. And we really need to take as much time to understand our volunteers as we do our members. Why are they giving their time, their passion and their expertise? It might be because they're determined to support the club that they've got so much from. It might be that they're looking to achieve new skills or build their social circle or have a sense of identity in the local community. It's really important that we listen to those volunteers and understand what's motivating them and create opportunities for them to volunteer on their terms, when they want to, doing what they want to, so that they're motivated, and above all, take the time and effort to say thank you and check that you're still enjoying your volunteering experience, and then the problems go away.
Absolutely. I think you summarise it well there. Volunteers need a purpose to their volunteering and absolutely need thanking for the fantastic work they do to keep clubs active. Rob, we're also getting questions about making sailing more inclusive, and this is a real challenge. Now, I work in sport and I see lots of initiatives out there, but it's certainly my personal feeling is that the sustainable progress of that is quite slow. What are the current participation trends in our sport, and what are the potential areas for growth?
Well, I think firstly, some encouraging news is that the new participants coming into the sport appear to be more diverse, and more aligned to the national averages of diversity within our communities. So that's a real positive that there is an audience out there who found boating. However, what we're not yet seeing is that translate through to our club membership. And I think we need to acknowledge where we're at the moment and be aware of the fact there's a journey we need to go on. I also think the other thing we need to be really mindful of is that actually as a sport, sailing and boating activities can be hugely inclusive. They appeal to a really wide range of people for a load of different reasons that we've talked about today, the sense of wellness, of being on the water and what you can get from that, both from a physical and a mental well-being perspective. And I think one of the biggest things that holds back for participation in our sport is the perception of it. You know, we appear to be one thing to people from outside of sport, where those of us who are more embedded in it maybe don't see it that way. And so I think we need to work really hard to address that perception, to make sure we present a sport that it is open and inclusive as far as we can be, and welcome as many people through our doors as we can.
Absolutely. And so what else do you feel like is the RYA's role to help promote that diversity of participation?
Well, I think, firstly, as I say, is about, presenting a sport that is open and inclusive. Secondly, I think it's about providing the tools and the methods for people to be able to connect to communities local to them. So we've just launched, or we're just in the process of launching, an inclusivity tool, which is a way of helping our clubs identify the communities local to them and how they could engage with them. And we've also got our team of development officers who are there on hand to be able to support. The other one that always comes up is where persuading somebody to come into sport. Quite often, a funding question will come to it. And we have just taken on some funding support officers to be able to help people find pots of funding to provide activities for those who maybe aren't as representative as we like to be within the activities.
We're rattling through some big subjects. I do apologise. If you want to hear more about them, come to the conferences. And we've got another big topic here. Sarah, making sure our sport is a safe space is unquestionably critical. It's obviously of the utmost importance for the RYA, but how important are clubs in this process? What is their role?
They are the absolute sort of bedrock of making sure that the sport is fun, welcoming, and importantly safe. The RYA can have safeguarding policies. We've got a team here working on safeguarding, but it's what happens on the ground that really matters. I can't emphasize enough how important it is for a club to think seriously about making sure they've got a club welfare officer. And that's an investment in the club. It's an investment in the environment. It's not about being there to deal with problems. It's about helping create that environment that is safe and welcoming and fun and enjoyable and all the things that when I take my children down to a club to learn to sail, I want to know that that's what it's going to be. But we can provide support. So both there's a club welfare officer training program. We've created a network of club officers so they can support each other. We've got members of staff here specialising in safeguarding and welfare. And we have virtual time to talk drop-in sessions that are available on all the topics that club welfare officers might find useful and interesting. But again, importantly, we're always here to help. So a club welfare officer always has the backup of the staff here at the RYA to help them through any issues or any concerns, or importantly, just to find more information about what to do.
It's a big topic and we've no time to go further. But I think the thing is to know that you can pick up the phone to the RYA and find out everything that you need to know.
And we will have members of our safeguarding teams at the conferences, at each of the conferences.
Okay, good. I know also we've not been able to address all of your questions. There is never, ever enough time. But the team here at RYA House will pick them up in the next edition of Clubroom, the newsletter for those involved in running the clubs across the land. So look out for that. The RYA can help and guide in lots of ways. They want to hear from you, so please do reach out and get in touch. We're sadly out of time here this evening. So a big thanks to Sarah, to Rob and to Joe, and of course, to Lee. But mostly, of course, thanks to you, not only for joining us this evening, but for all your hard work, your passion and your enthusiasm. Our clubs really are the heartbeat of our sport, and I promise you that is never, ever forgotten. I started this session by saying this evening was a short warm-up to the conferences later in the year. So what's the next step? Well, if you haven't already done so and you're involved in shaping the future success of your club, book your place. You won't regret it, I promise you that. The affiliated club conferences are taking place later this year in England, Wales and Northern Ireland, and then in early 2023 in Scotland. Be there. These events will build on the topics that we've touched on this evening and will include workshops that will hopefully really help support your club in lots of areas like planning to increase volunteers, retaining more members, attracting a wider community, or overcoming legal and governance challenges. They're good. Go. Because sharing ideas, offering support, knowing that we're a community working together is really important. Believing that we're all steering in the same direction is crucial to the future of the sport we love. And it's good to know that it's in good hands. Thanks again for joining us this evening. Have fun on the water and sail safe, everyone.